The Polkinghorne murder. The verdict is out, folks. Yep, he's a free man. And my God, did the media have a thrashing over this? So they've been right into it. And it's really an interesting case. Vaughan's here. So, Vaughan, what's your thoughts on the matter?
Well, initial thoughts are that those who were not close to the case were probably surprised by the outcome, because the way the media was painting it, it was heading in a certain direction and it seemed to be not going for Polkinghorne. I think those close to it probably knew that there were some gaps in the evidence and maybe not surprised. So, it's interesting, the influence of the media.
Do you know, it is interesting because, the Grace Malone murder was very much the same, where the alleged person who did it is a gross individual and, obviously was watching porn afterwards. This thing is much the same. Well, this guy rushed off with his girlfriend and had all these little... trips offshore and and she's a prostitute, for goodness sake. So most of the population would be abhorrent with that. So probably judged him guilty based on that.
Yeah.
Is that a fair...
That is a fair way to play it, because I would have to say and admit that I was one of those people that bought into how well it was presented by the media. They were writing on it every day. And so the assumption of this guy, sex addict, high on meth all the time, hey, he's a bad guy, sort of thing, when the reality is you can be that and not be a murderer. But the paper was kind of leaving a lot open for us to assume.
So he got off on the basis that he's on the basis of not enough evidence. Is it possible then he still could be guilty?
Absolutely. But I think that the bottom line is that's the verdict. That's the jurors have come up with that decision, and that's what we have to accept. So, as far as the justice system is concerned, the court system, he is innocent. He's walking today, or yesterday. So he's a free man for now.
You say that for now because we talked before, and you said that the fact that he was but had meth in his possession, will that put him away?
He has charges before the court for possession of a pea pipe and methamphetamine, and that's enough to send him to prison. So he'll go before the courts again in November. So he's a free man for about 8 weeks. Now, I'm not saying that on the basis he is going to prison, but if you look at the track record of people who have had meth and a pipe and probably where the police are at with him, I would say that he's on pretty thin ice with that one.
Wow. So that was my next question really, is do you think he will go to prison? So obviously you think that there's a high likely. Well, okay, well then the thing is, do you think the public, the community, has had justice here?
That's a really good question, Max. I think that the media, and particularly in terms of the insinuation that the Crown botched, the Crown prosecution botched it, that's pretty tough. I think they worked with what they had, and they did the right thing by going down the track that they did. But the other thing is that what was the name of the lady that he had the relationship with, the sex worker in Sydney, Ashton, and she did the runaway and hide and not get, and would he have gone down if she had testified? And the truth is that she is such a good hustler, she's waiting for another payday out of this. And the payday is to sell the story, right?
I think, Vaughan, she's already got a payday. I would say that if her rate was $500 an hour before, it'll be $1,500 to $2,000 an hour. She's top class now.
But, it just goes to show the naivety of New Zealand versus the cut and thrust of Sydney, that... sex workers of that sort of tribe are almost a dime a dozen over there, and they are slick, they are sharp, and she smelt blood in the water, she stood up, and it's pretty callous that the next morning's paper, after the verdict, she's there going, this is my view on it. So in terms of any TV expose or article on this, she'll be right there, and she'll be clicking the ticket on that
Vaughan, I'm interested, and this is a pretty hard question for you who have just been an observer like I have through the media. But do you, in terms of talking about performance from either side, the defendants, lawyers, and then, of course, the Crown lawyers, who do you think performed the best, and who do you think performed the worst?
Okay, well, it's clear that the Crown prosecution was outperformed because they lost. Right. So they definitely were convinced that this man was guilty. Otherwise, they wouldn't have taken the case against him. So there was a winner and a loser on this one. As far as the defence was concerned, I think all they had to do was focus on the fact that the evidence wasn't conclusive enough. And they just stood their ground on that. So they did a very good job of holding their ground on it. That's only apparent now. It wasn't apparent the way the media was painting it.
It was. I saw there was an interim yesterday where the jury came out and said to the judge, "We don't have enough evidence," and then they asked another question. We don't have enough evidence against him, so we don't have enough evidence there was a suicide, and we don't have enough evidence in total. So the judge said, "Can you please give us guidance?" I'd say the judge would have gone back and say, "That's it, folks. There's no retrial here.
Definitely.
And
Definitely.
you've got to do your job."
Yep. Yeah.
And so they put their hand up saying, "Well, we can't convict him beyond all reasonable doubt."
Yeah.
Because there is doubt.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this is what's really interesting with this case is things will never be the same as far as big cases playing out in the courts. This was so well covered, you could have imagined we were in America. You know, it was sort of O.J. Simpson type proportions. The sadness is there's a family that's lost and friends, someone close to them. Reading things afterwards, and we've got the hindsight, you know, the benefit of hindsight, that there was obviously two sides to the story. And I think that for me, the thing is that the verdict of not guilty was for today, but I have a feeling he's still going to do some time, and but that time will not be like for murder. Yeah, I think he's walked as a murderer, and as far as the court system is concerned, he's not a murderer.
Just before we wind up, I can tell you that some commentators I know think that the Grace Malone murderer, yep, they're very pleased that he went to jail and he got his just desserts, but they're saying in law he should never have gone to jail because maybe it wasn't a deliberate murder. Maybe it was accidental, manslaughter on the basis of strangling her, and that's what she wanted. But anyway, that's another debate for another day. But look, sounds like we've got the right verdict here, but maybe has justice been met, maybe not.
That's right. I think there will always be that question mark about, could it have gone differently? One of the things I want to wrap up with, Max, is that I said it in the last video that we spoke with, that I've always considered myself to be pretty street smart and aware and had lived a worldly life. But the more, like, for example, reading this case, I live a sheltered, what was going on in this case is like far out.
Exactly.
I'm way off the pace.
My teenage dreams he was living, but I think, my goodness me.
I know.
And now I find it quite abhorrent.
I'm a choir boy compared to this sort of stuff. And it really interesting.
And you look at the rich and famous. I mean, these guys are multimillionaires who are these flash surgeons. You make you wonder. You'll look at each one of them hereafter and go, wonder what you get up to.
Amazing the trouble people get into when they've got a bit of money, eh?
I don't have to worry about that. See ya.